Well, here we are on another episode of Around the Reel. And on today's show, you're going to just have me. Just me. We always try to do a show every week. And doing a podcast like ours, we have options. And that's always a cool thing to have because you never know what could come up in life and change the way things are supposed to happen. Schedules change, people go through stuff, all that stuff. It happens. We all know that happens, and that's okay. I think it's you've got to be fucking flexible, right? You got to be flexible when you're doing this on an indie level. You can't get stuck on things like, oh my God, they're not going to show up. What am I going to do? How am I going to figure this out? You got to be like water, and you got to flow. You just got to flow. So when things happen on an indie level, I think it's very important to have that kind of elasticity. Is that the word? Like Plastic Man? You can stretch, do shit. I don't know. Anyway, I think it's important to have that kind of attitude when you're doing this kind of thing. And here's another thing. I got a lot on my mind. And sometimes there's not people there to talk to about it or people that give a fuck about it. And instead of standing in my bathroom by myself, holding my penis and talking to myself in the mirror, why not do a show and maybe share some of the thoughts that I'm thinking right now? And on today's podcast, it's pretty cool. I'm going to actually just kind of go through my editing style, how I do things, what I've learned over the years, a little bit about the art of editing a film or a commercial or any of those things. So maybe it could give you all some... I don't know, some good little pieces of nuggets that you could... Pieces of nuggets?
Welcome to Around the Reel with your hosts, Aaron Carlson, Charles Lawson, and Steve Eaton. Boy, ain't no way, man.
All right, we're back. Here we go. So let's dig in a little bit into what CCC has been doing and what we got planned for 2025. We're getting close to the end of the year. It's kind of that time where you kind of settle, you do your family stuff, you kind of look back at the year and, think about the blessings you've had, and we all have them, and there's a lot of bad that comes with blessings too, but that's why you appreciate the blessings so fucking much, right? That's an important thing. So looking back on our year, we've done one of our best films, our documentary, A Will and a Way. It was fantastic. I had a blast making that, getting to know the family, working with Samantha. She was a hell of a director on that. She really kicked ass. It was cool. Very proud of that movie, and it's doing very well right now on the streaming platform. So that's a bonus too. Not as good as we'd hoped, but it's still doing good, and that's the attitude you got to have, right? You can't just get stuck on thinking your movie's going to be a blockbuster. You never know when these things are going to hit. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, and that's okay. It could take years before people start seeing this film, and if they do see it, then it could blow up, and out of a sudden, you're just going, holy shit, look at all the money I made on one movie so quickly, and I thought it was dead. It's not always dead. So remember that, guys. It's not always dead. Just make stuff, get it out there, do the best quality you can, and you'll be fine. But looking back on the documentary, that was the great experience for us, and we learned a lot, and because of that, we're doing another, and that one's going to be a little more controversial, and we're super excited about it, and I can't wait to get it out there. So, the Horrorverse, our little dive into YouTube, and going back a little bit, it was kind of a questionable choice to do because we wanted to make movies that made money, right? We want to succeed at what we're doing. But, I had this in my head to have a monetized channel one day. And, we're all old people, so we don't really have like the flair to grab a younger audience. They give a fuck about our old asses, right? They don't care. But how do you get a YouTube channel monetized if you're 40s and 50s? How do you do that? And you're a filmmaker. See a lot of great movies on YouTube. A lot of indie stuff. It's fantastic. Doesn't have a lot of views. People can't find it. Or maybe the filmmakers aren't promoting themselves enough and finding that audience, which is the part of the job. All that kind of stuff's super important. But for me and our team, after I did a little convincing, and I'm very, very persuasive person. I can get them to do stuff. I'm like fucking Obi-Wan. I can be like, you guys are going to do that kind of thing. We're going to do this. I'm like, you guys are going to do this. And that's what kind of happens. I'm that guy. I'm bullshitting. I'm not that guy. But I really try hard to give them options to think about. And the YouTube channel was one of them. And I really thought that in time, because the way the streaming platforms change so much, not to say YouTube won't, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket kind of a thing. Yeah, and I think it's important to have options when you're a filmmaker. And if you can self-sustain yourself with your own pages and products, maybe you don't need to rely too much on other things. And YouTube, as of right now, is a decent option. It pays very well on content if it's doing good, which is cool. So it just gives you another way to market yourself and your movies. And I thought that was key for what we want to do. So how do you get it monetized? Well, we have our own movies. We're trying to do the streaming platforms through, Film Hub and whatnot. And in order to get a channel, I thought monetize would be to do these fan films, just to try them out, just to see if we could bring eyeballs to our work. Now we're piggybacking off another IP. I understand that. And it's not original content, but yet it is, but it's not because we're using these icons. Blah, 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 blah. However, it doesn't matter what you do to get monetized. You just need to get monetized. And we did that with our first film, The Shape. And we jumped into the horrorverse. And now just real quick, just looking back over the last year and what we were able to do, it's amazing. I should say 2 years. I mean, we made 8 short films in 8 months. We got each one out every month, which was crazy. Then we jumped into a feature, which is, a little over an hour. I want to say it's like an hour and 5 minutes, and that was Jason Voorhees Awake in the Darkness. We knocked that out as quickly as we could, got it in post, edited the shit, got it scored, rocked it, got it out on January 1st, 2024. Yeah. And right now that's closing in on 200,000 views, which is great. Before the year ended, we were able to hit Friday the 13th, and I think that was in September, if I remember correctly, of 2024. Yes, with our second feature, Jason Voorhees The Hunt. And that right now is closing in on 50,000 views. That's 2 features in a year that we were able to release. A documentary we released in July, which is a full length. And we also did 8 short films last year. And another documentary last year that released. So we did a lot. And quality-wise was key. We wanted to be efficient, fast, and yet still put out something that worked. But going back, looking at what we did over this last year, and now in pre-production for the final film in the horrorverse, I couldn't help but just think about the actors, right? And fucking everybody that helped us. But the actors are a big deal, and I don't think actors get enough credit for what they do. I see a lot of filmmakers online that that just say the craziest shit about what actors are hoping to get paid for, for their time, and stuff. And it's like, you pay for what you get what you pay kind of thing. And, we've been lucky to build a family of just wonderful people that have helped us make this stuff. And, it comes down to respecting your fellow artists and colleagues. It's important to do, and understand how lucky you fucking are to have people help you. Whether you pay them or not is irrelevant to me. It's about, what kind of content are you making? How are you treating people on set? What accommodations are you giving them? What freedom do you give them to create? And do you build a lasting bond with these people? Friendships, family. Can you do that? If you can do that, and that alone, let's say you were broke as fuck. You don't have anything. Most of the movies we make, we don't have a budget. Are you able to still make a connection with people that goes beyond monetary value? Can you do that? And if so, if you do, will the actors respect you and the work? I've had people tell me, that there's people, if they don't get paid after a while, they're not going to keep doing it. I haven't seen that yet. Sometimes we can pay them in different ways. There's ways to pay people back for their time. And for example, the fan films, they're fan films. They monetized, yeah, but we can't make any money on it. It's a different IP. So what I do with these, and even if we get the budget, we can pay for time. Last film we made $10,000 to make The Hunt on our Indiegogo. The cast and crew, told us to take the money and put it back into the next film, or what we do into the company. They didn't want the money. And I asked them, and we all did at CCC, what, this is what we could pay you out of that. Nobody wanted the fucking money. It was about them just creating, and that comes from just their own heart and love for the craft, but also they believe in what we're doing. And I think that belief came from us treating them like colleagues, artists, that we're all on the same level. No one's better than fucking anybody. Yeah. I think that that made a difference. And these are friendships that we have with these. I love these guys. So I've been making these trailers for them to kind of get people going, get them excited about the new film that's going to be shooting in spring of 2025, Jason Voorhees' Nightmares. It's the final film in the Horrorverse, and we're done with it. Just to pay tribute to them and their skill level and all the time and talents they brought on set and shared with us is amazing. And it's been an emotional thing, thinking about it. It's kind of cool, just when you really dig in and watch somebody's performance that they did for you in a movie that you wrote out of your fucking head on one night or one day, or you came up with this idea and you start writing this thing, and then these people come in and do their job. Like, honestly, if you had the money to pay people, how could you not pay them what they want for that? It's a skill that is just kind of overlooked, I think. Acting is not fucking easy. And a lot of stuff on set's not when you're making a movie. It takes a team, but this certain craft to me is amazing. And you see how deep some people go to get to the point to get to that place they need to get to pull off this character is absolutely amazing. You go from the method stuff, you go from people just needing to get away. You've got people who can laugh and joke, and then on a split second they can turn into somebody else. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch. And directing actors is something that I think is the best learning experience I can get to understand how well and how much these people are able to do with their creativity. It's amazing because I've tried to act. I want to act. And I think acting makes me a better filmmaker. It makes me a better director, understanding how odd it feels to be in front of a camera, to be on set with these mic above you and this light in your face and all that shit. I mean, all that stuff is crazy hard to do and still act like there's a monster chasing you. Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, they do. And it's fucking phenomenal. And I give them props. So I'm making these trailers, and it's been a lot of fun. Emotional ride looking back at it, and I'm going to make one for everybody, and it's pretty fucking cool. But I thought I would go into, editing a little bit. When I first started making movies, I think this was right around 2000. So I've been doing this for 24 years or so, I think. Something like that. Told the story many times on the show. You got a laptop, Windows Movie Maker in there. I was like, holy shit, you can make a movie. Figured out I needed a camera, bought some stupid little DV tape cam, handheld pocket camera or something. Filmed some stuff. Learned I could drop it in the timeline. Had no idea how to do audio, so I had the audio line muted. I didn't even know what that meant. So I thought I had to make a film with no sound. I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But then I drop in sound effects, and those would come through, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll use those. But never realizing that the audio line was muted. I mean, that's how dumb I was. I had no skills. But anyway, we made a short film. It was like a silent film, and we just made fun of our kids and ourselves, and did this and made it. And it's absolutely terrible. But I jumped in there and started to try to edit a movie, and I thought how cool it was. That was 24 years ago when I first did that. That's crazy, absolutely crazy. But then I started to realize that there's an art form to it. And I fell in love with that part of it. And then I fell in love with the fact of, gosh, okay, so if I'm shooting the movie, if I'm writing the movie, if I'm acting in the movie, and then I have to take the movie afterwards and then edit the movie, then I have to do the sound on the movie, and then, oh shit, there's a color grade? What is that? I've never even heard of that. What the fuck is color grading? I had to learn all this shit on my own. And I did it on my own. I went from Video Copilot to Film Riot to other filmmakers out there that I found. Just everywhere and everything I could read, I just absorbed it all. And really tried my best to hone my craft, right? Because I thought I had to do all this shit by myself. I didn't know that there was different departments. As many movies I watched in my life, I've never watched the credit roll. You know what I mean? I never did. I didn't understand that, there was roles for all these things. So I thought I just had to do it on my own since I wasn't in Hollywood. That's how simple it was. So I learned all these things. And then as time went on, I just continued to get better and better at all these things. Now, I'm not great at everything, but I can pull it off. You know what I'm saying? I know where my line is and where I can't do certain things. So how can I tell my story so I don't pull people out of it by fucking up a visual effect or, screwing up something? I didn't want the audience to go, oh, that looks so cheesy. I never wanted that, even though the movies I made, there's cheesy bad stuff in them. It happens. But that's how you learn. So, long story short, the piece that really got me and I loved was the editing process. To me, putting the puzzle together was probably to me, that's how a movie's made, right? I've taken old footage that I shot 15, 20 years ago and recut it. And then I watch it and I'm like, that's not bad that way. The first time I edited the thing, it sucked ass. It was horrible. But now, with the editing skills I have, I took that same footage, recut it, and actually made my kids look better, myself look better, who couldn't act at all, and sound, being able to enhance it in different ways, make it more crisp, more full. I mean, all these things, and color grading it. I'd taken 480p footage and still adding a slight grade to it, and I'm like, wow, it actually sells. It does not look that bad now. It doesn't sound that bad. It's actually kind of funny. It got better. And I think editing can do that. So when people say you can't fix stuff in post, you can fix a lot in fucking post. You really can. You really can. It's the skill level you have. So editing became my thing. And I wanted to just kind of go over some talking points maybe or something with everybody about editing, like what your style is. I wrote some shit down here. How do you organize your efficiency, tempo, editing for others? Like, you might have your own movie in your head, but could you edit a film for somebody else? And the importance of temp score. These things are key to me when I'm sitting down to editing. So I want to share this with you guys. See if I can get this pulled up real quick. And maybe you guys can see this here. All right. Hopefully that came up. Let me double check because I'm new to this. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, shit. I did do it. Wow. I'm not as stupid as I thought. Wait, am I? Am I as stupid as I thought? Maybe. Anyway, okay. So, as an editor, I'm kind of like been all over the place in what kind of software I want to use, right? So on the screen, if you're watching this, you'd see that right now I have a DaVinci Resolve. I love this software. To me, this is the premier editing platform you want to use. I know Adobe's a big deal, but if you're an indie filmmaker right now, and you don't have a lot of money for that subscription thing that everybody's got, try DaVinci out. There's a free version of it you can try to learn it. And it's not very hard. If you've edited before, you're going to be just fine in this one. You just got to find out where everything is. It's like being a bartender. Sam always used to say that, like, you know, she knows how to make all the fucking drinks, but if you get hired at a new bar, you kind of stand there because you're like, where the fuck's the limes? You know, where do you guys put the vodka? You don't know where the shit's at. But once you find out where shit's at, then, and only then, can you start kicking ass on stuff. And I think that's the big deal when it comes to editing, knowing where things are. In DaVinci Resolve, there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of software, a lot of things that are just, oh man, I don't know. Shit's everywhere, and it's overwhelming when you first start looking at it. However, you know, just like anything else, the more you play around with stuff, the better. So this is our last feature here that we did. This is actually Jason Voorhees, The Hunt. Ooh, hi, Chuck. That's a nice smile. Looking good, bud. As you can see, my biggest goal is to piece together a film as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and yet not lose the quality that we're hoping to keep on screen. And, you know, that's the tricky part. A couple things I do with my style, and I'll bring that up right now, is to find that beat, right? We got to find the beat. So whenever I'm doing something, temp score is key. So I usually start with music. That's the first thing I fucking do. So I will find the right temp score and the right sounds for a certain scene that I know is necessary for me to feel the emotion of it, whether it's an action scene, dramatic scene, suspenseful scene, horror scene, whatever it is. It matters to have a sound in your head, to me. And I will find those sounds very quickly. I use this program pretty much called Epidemic Sound. It's one of those royalty-free. God damn, they're one of our sponsors too. It's crazy. So, Epidemic Sound is a website that you can use, and it has royalty-free music on it. You can find everything you want, from sound effects to music. All these artists you can pull from and find, you know, the type of style you're looking for, and use it in your projects. You know, if you're able to take the licensing rights for these tracks and use them without any blowback on you as a filmmaker, which is pretty cool. There's many like this. I use Epidemic Sound. It was the first one I jumped into. They gave us a little affiliation, and we've been with them ever since. They do the job for me, so I don't mind them at all. But however, starting with music is key for me. So I'll have the scene in my head, right? And then I start plugging away at the edit. So I don't know how you guys like to do editing when you are sitting in front of that computer and your workstation's all set. But to me, it's vital to, you know, have all the footage organized as much as you can. And when I say organized, I don't mean organized like beautifully with like these fucking folders and all this shit, you know, and everybody knows, you know, where everything's at and all that garbage. I mean, like, you know, it's kind of like a junk drawer, right? If you know what's in your junk drawer, you should be able to find what you're looking for, right? Right. I agree. Yeah, totally. So think of it that way. As long as you know where your shit's at, you're in good shape. Now, I do recommend when you're out shooting your film to make sure you do have those files kind of organized. It makes it a hell of a lot easier, right? So, like, for example, you would be shooting on day one. You make a folder for day one, drop in your audio for that day in that same folder so that when you're mixing, you can, you know, stitch together the audio with the track so you don't get lost in all this bumble of files everywhere. So, you know, day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, that's kind of what we do. Keep those folders intact, you find all your shots you need, and then you're good to go. To me, that's the best way to edit a film, because I know what we shot that day, and I usually start editing as we go. So I start putting together these scenes early. As soon as we shoot the scene, I'm editing the fucking scene. I don't fuck around. That's the only way to get it done to me, and keep the ball rolling and keep it efficient. That's important. Also, I do a few other things that are a little differently. After the organization is down and already built my style, and remember, style is key, guys, right? You have your own style of editing, right? It's not always about, you know, block, 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 transition, 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 fade, fade, whatever. It's a mixture of all these things. How does it feel when you watch it? And I think the feeling is what a lot of young editors don't understand. They feel like they're stuck, right? I know I was when I first started, like, oh, I made this, I filmed this, so I got to use that, and I filmed that, and I got to use that, and then I got to use this piece, and this piece, and this piece, and you force yourself to use the stuff. Well, you don't have to, right? And that's what makes a better editor. You have to look at these, like, okay, I shot this stuff, but what in this do I use to make the scene flow correctly? And the only way I actually learned that was by watching movies and paying attention to movies. I mean, that is the biggest and best way to learn something. You have to pay attention to the way scenes are cut, and those especially in the movies that you adore. Like, if you're a Titanic person, you watch Titanic and you know that emotionally that movie hits you, while you're crying and bawling. Have you ever watched it close enough to go, how did they make me cry? How did they do that? And then you start picking up the music, and then the actors, and then you start seeing how they shot it. And then you really start digging in, and then you'll see, wow, those cuts hit on those certain moments where they have to hit. Okay, that's the style, right? If you find that style, your style, then you're going to be just fine, especially if you get a reaction out of others that may be a little more biased or neutral, especially if they're neutral. It's great. It's great when you find that. So remember your style. And organizing stuff. It's great. Efficiency, I think, comes with the time that you put into this. If you practice and you keep editing, you will get faster. Your workflow will become smoother. You will just know what shortcuts to take, like, and how to get to stuff quickly and to piece together exactly. Like, my mind is 10 steps forward when I'm editing all the time. I already know I want to get to this point, and I start filling in those blocks as I go. And that makes it so much easier to edit stuff with. I mean, when you start getting the story down in your head, that's key. That's where you need to be. Once you have it in your head, you're going to see these shots and daydream about them, you guys. You have to do that. If you're driving down the road and you've got nothing on your mind but, day shit. Who gives a fuck about day shit? You might as well dream and have fun. Do that. Dream and have fun. And then let yourself kind of slide right into, like, that sequence that you shot. And you just start piecing together those moments, and you're like, oh shit. Holy shit, I could do that, and that. That's kind of where my brain goes. And then when I sit down at the workstation, it's ready to go. I'm solid, and then I start cutting. And the next thing you know, you're there. So efficiency, just always be ready. Be prepared with your timeline. Know your fucking timeline. Think about, even down to the sound effects. Like, don't fuck around. You see these things right here? Use those. Fill in those gaps. Even if they don't work later, you can always take them out. But just fill in things that you think might work. Those whooshes, those booms, those hits, all that stuff matters. It actually elevates your story. It brings this subtle emotional power to a piece if you use it. I see a lot of indie films that don't do that, where they, it's really just kind of what you filmed is what you filmed, and then they'll throw some score on there, and it just feels empty. Sound design is key. It really is. And sometimes you can overdo it. I've done it many times when I've overdone it, but I don't give a shit because I love it. But at the same time, it's vital for the film to really feel alive. And to me, I'm still working on that piece. Like, sound is a huge deal. And it's important to really focus on it when you're an editor. And even if you don't do this, even if you're not getting paid to do the sound, I think you still should. I mean, to me, I'm already in there anyway. Like, when I'm cutting a scene, like right here, this sequence to me is, would look stupid if I'm just cutting it in RAW. I want to see it and feel it while I'm editing. So I go ahead and throw a color grade on some of these scenes while I'm cutting the movie. I do the color lightly, just to get an idea. I don't care if it's a fucking LUT, just something that pops. The sound I do as I go. The music I drop in before I even start cutting the scene to get a feel for when music hits should happen. All that stuff matters, guys. And to me, it makes me a better editor. So, and I'll do the same thing when I'm working with somebody else on their project, right? Even if I'm not charging him for that, like, to make more money. Like, okay, yeah, I'm edit the film, but I'll also color grade it. I'll do some sound design for you, and if you don't have someone who's a composer helping you, I'd be happy to drop in some music for you too. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm working on it anyway, so most of the time I charge for each one of those categories. But, there's times when I've like, hey, I want to help this filmmaker out. They don't have a big budget. I'll be happy to do it. Pay the shit forward. Pay the fucking shit forward. Damn it. But that's kind of I don't know, I think that's a big deal when you're an editor. Now, I know a lot of guys probably don't do that, or ladies, or everybody. I'm trying to be careful here. But my point is that, whatever your workflow is, it makes you efficient as a filmmaker or an editor or a post-production person. Use it. To me, doing everything as I go works. I've gotten used to that, and it helps me speed up my workflow. I don't have to look back. I can just keep moving forward. Like, I'd hate to edit a movie in RAW and then have to go, okay, now I got to go back and color grade it. Because if I go back, now I'm going to start questioning my edit, why I made those cuts that way. Then I'll get stuck, and then I'll never color grade because I'll keep editing. So it's kind of stupid. So if I do it all at once, then when I go back, all I got to do is make the quick edits, and then I'm done. I don't have to think about anything else because I've got the sound done, I've got the color done, I've got the edit done. Now I can just tighten everything up, and it's a no-brainer for me. That's how I do it. Anyway, I think when you're editing something for others, once you figure out your style, and you let's say you get hired as an editor for another gig, whether it's short film or feature, the biggest and best thing you can do is embrace your style and make sure that they know your style so they're not surprised when they see your cut. But also ask a lot of fucking questions to them. That you need to know who they are as a filmmaker, what they're trying to accomplish, what kind of movie they want to make, and the feel and tone of it. That's key. Make sure you ask those questions. And if you don't get those answers, you keep fucking asking them. That's what you got to do. Because without those answers, you're going to be winging it. And then next thing you know, you send in a first draft of the film or whatever, and then they see it, and then they give you all these fucking notes. Eliminate the fucking notes. Okay? Get your information up front before you start this project. Do it the best you can to get all your answers and all your questions answered before you jump into the edit. It's to me, that saves a lot of fucking time and frustration because I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a fuck. Notes suck. You're very proud of an edit after you do it. And you think, this is one, they're going to love this. And then they come back, oh yeah, it's good, but... Everybody hates that. I don't care what they say. And if you say you don't, you're full of shit. It's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. And then you start getting frustrated. Eliminate those frustrations, Ask as many questions up front as you can. Have them give you samples of things that they've seen that they like. Movie clips that they kind of, storyboarding, whatever they got, get it. So you get an idea up front what they want. And then you do your best to bring your style to match that kind of creativity. That's kind of what I do, the best I can. And I think that's key. So, I don't know, guys. I just thought this would be kind of just some bullet points that I could share with you guys about just editing in general. I absolutely adore it. I think to me, editing is the most fascinating part of a film. I think it's where the movie's made. I actually believe that the biggest piece of the puzzle to make a successful film feel bigger than it is, more cinematic, is absolutely in the edit. Like I've said, I've taken shitty footage and shitty movies I've once made in my life and recut those things, and I made something that was hell of a lot better. And nothing changed in the product other than me and how I saw it, how I viewed it, how I felt about it. I think there's a lot of emotion that goes behind an editor, and I think that a lot of that feeling gets lost because it becomes a job to them, and that's sad. I think those editors that are out there that do really good stuff, and you're like, who the fuck edited this movie? This is fucking great. I think those people have not lost the magic and the fire and the fun of putting a movie together. They're not frustrated. It's just not a job to them anymore. They're still creative. They're still storytellers. And editing is storytelling. It really is. And I absolutely love it. I really do. To me, that's the best part. I can't wait to get that footage home. I've got the biggest, well, I wouldn't say biggest boner, but you know what I'm saying. It excites me. I'm so excited to see how I can make these actors and this crew who did that work for the day shine. That's my job. I love doing that. And it's a great place to be. So anyway, short show today, just some editing stuff I wanted to talk about real quick. DaVinci Resolve is fantastic. It's cheap. Even if you buy the full product, you're going to get, and I'm not getting a kickback from DaVinci at all here. This is just me like admiring the software. It's totally user-friendly once you understand it all. I'm about 60 or 70% good at DaVinci. I know there's a lot of shit I don't do, especially in the color grading wheel. It's there's a lot to it, and I got a lot more to learn, and I just keep learning as I go. But get good at the basics. Get good at the minimal stuff that you need to make a simple film, or make a film that's on this indie level, micro or low budget. You can do that really simple. You can do it with the free version of DaVinci. You don't have to buy the $300 program, which is all it is. It's only like a few $100, I think, actually, as opposed to paying what you pay for Adobe. And Adobe's great. I don't mind them. I used it for a little while, but it's just too damn expensive, bro. I can't do it. It costs too much monthly shit. It's ridiculous. Can I just buy it and use it? That's kind of what I want. Subscription-based stuff sucks after a while. Anyway, guys, editing, indie style. That's what it's all about. Making movies and keep doing it. If you can't find an editor out there, you can learn on your own if you wanted to. I did. I didn't know I needed one. I just knew and thought I had to do it. So I learned how to do it. I thought that was part of being an indie filmmaker, that you did your own shit. And I think that's helped us in the long run. We can keep everything in-house if we have to. If we can't pay somebody to do the post work, I got it. Steve's got it. Kelvin's got it. We got it. We can do it. Now, would it be a great? There's certain things that I know we don't feel is great. And then there's other people out there, if we hired them, God, it could have been great. But it's not. But is it good for indie? Yeah, it's good. It's solid. And that's how we kind of do it. That's how we can get our movies out so fast. We keep it in-house. I don't have to find an editor. I don't have to go out and wait for somebody to do something and then work back and forth over and over for months and months and months and months on this thing. I think that's why editing gets so monotonous to people. But if you do it your own way and you're your own editor, you'd find out how quickly you can get your movies out, how fast and efficient you can be, and in time, how the quality of the content will just keep getting better and better and better. It just takes practice, guys. That's all it is. Anyway, that's this week's episode of Around the Reel. I don't really close shows very well. Without Chuck doing it, it gets kind of weird and stupid, but we're weird and stupid, so who gives a shit? Anyway, that's about it, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, think hard, because you're thinking. Hey, would you like to be a guest on the Around the Reel podcast? If so, just reach out to aroundthereel253@gmail.com. That's aroundthereel253@gmail.com. And remember, keep punching, don't quit, and follow your dream.